brave little leap. High in the rolling hills of the Green Valley lived two hares named Whisker and Lyra. While the sun was bright and the grass was sweet, the two friends were not happy. They spent their days huddled together, twitching their long ears at every tiny sound. To Whisker and Lyra, the world felt like a very big, very scary place. Whisker was especially nervous. If a gentle breeze tickled the wildflowers, he would jump high into the air. He was sure that every rustle in the leaves was a giant monster coming to find them. "Oh, Lyra," he whispered, "why must we be the most frightened creatures in the whole wide forest?" Lyra felt just as worried as her friend. One afternoon, a small, dark shadow drifted across the clover. It was only a tiny sparrow flying home for tea, but Lyra let out a squeak and hid her face. "It isn't fair," she sighed. "Everyone else is brave, but we are scared of our own shadows." The two friends sat by an old, mossy stump and felt very sorry for themselves. They thought about the lions with their loud roars and the eagles with their sharp eyes. "We are the unluckiest animals of all," Whisker said, a little tear in his eye. "We are even afraid of the falling leaves." "Maybe if we go to the great pond, we will find a place where nothing can surprise us," Lyra suggested. They stood up and shook the dust from their fur. Even though they were trembling, they decided to leave their meadow and see if they could find a place where they felt big and strong. They began to run. They dashed through the thickets and leaped over fallen branches. Whisker led the way, his heart thumping like a little drum against his ribs. He didn't look back, afraid that if he stopped, he would never move again. Lyra was right behind him. As they reached the edge of the woods, the ground became soft and squishy. The great pond stretched out before them, covered in green lily pads and surrounded by tall, waving reeds. Lyra skidded to a stop right at the muddy bank. Near the edge of the water, a little green frog named Fern was sitting on a stone. When he saw the two large hares charging toward him, he let out a panicked croak and did a giant backflip. He splashed into the water and hid deep in the dark, cool mud at the bottom. Whisker and Lyra stopped and stared at the bubbles rising to the surface. They looked at each other in total silence. "Did you see that?" Whisker asked, his voice full of wonder. "That frog was terrified of us. He thought we were the big, scary monsters." Lyra started to giggle, and then Whisker started to laugh. They realized that they weren't the only ones who felt small and nervous. "I suppose things aren't so bad after all," Lyra said with a smile. They hopped back toward their meadow, feeling much lighter, knowing that everyone has something that makes them feel a little bit jumpy.